We're live.
We are live and we're going to start the recording.
Oh, did you give me permission to do it?
Not yet, but I've started it.
Okay. Uh, all right. Well, we are all here. Well, no, we're not all here. So I'm hoping, Larry, that a couple more people will join us. Our normal group is 4 or 5 women who meet uh, uh, we meet weekly while we're in session reading a particular book. And then we'll take a few weeks off and start back up with a new book. So I'm hoping that a couple of more people are going to join us. I'm also hoping that 2 of my nephews may come in tonight. And they probably will not be ongoing members of our group, but um, given all the events going on in the world today, I wanted to give as many people as want to have it a place to kind of work through some of our thoughts and feelings. So anyway, welcome everyone to the Global Black Feminist Reading Circle. This is session 13 for us, meaning it is the 13th book that we have read publicly and collectively around issues related to our experience as Black people and as women and as human beings. This particular session started on May 19th, Malcolm's birthday, actually, and continues through July 21st. We meet on Tuesdays at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, and our meetings are broadcast live on YouTube. Um, so, Jibril is here. He's connecting to the audio. So, yeah. So for anybody that's new to the group and or new to, uh, live webcasting, just be aware that we are live right now. So if you're feeling the need to do anything, unseemly, like dig in your nose or fart or flush the toilet like the Supreme Court justice did a few weeks ago, uh, please mute your mic or mute your audio or both. And you can find the recordings of all of our videos on YouTube under the name the Global Black Feminist Reading Circle. We also have a page on Facebook where we post public invitations to the group and other things like that. Welcome, welcome, nephew Jibril.
Hello there. How are you?
I'm good. I'm so happy to see you.
Definitely. Good to
So
see you.
we're just kind of getting started here, and one of the things we do is go around and have everyone give their name and their location.
Okay.
And so I'll start. I'm Logan Michelle Odom, and I am calling in tonight from Brooklyn, New York. And this is usually our entrance fee to get into to show that we have the book. But the book that we're reading this session is called This Bridge Called My Back: Writings by Radical Women of Color. edited, fourth edition, edited by Cherríe Moraga and Gloria Anzaldúa. I should learn how to say her name. And this book was first published in 1981, and this fourth edition came out in 2015. And so, and so a lot of the issues that come up in the book are things that were going on in the late 70s, early 80s. And so it's one of the interesting things about reading it is seeing how much stuff is still applicable today. So again, I'm Logan Michelle Odom calling from New York. Welcome. And Leonie.
Hey. Hello, everybody. I'm Leonie, and I'm joining you from Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. Also have my book.
Welcome.
Hello.
Welcome.
And Georgette.
Hello, everybody. I'm Georgette Moses, and I'm joining you all from Columbia, South Carolina. And here's my book.
Yay! And we have Kim. Kim, do you want to introduce yourself, or if?
Sure, I'm Kim, and I am also in New York, and I'll show you my book in a minute.
Okay. And up at the top, Larry.
Hi, I'm Lawrence Odom Jr. I'm calling in from
Larry?
Garfield. Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
I'm Lawrence Odom Jr. calling in from Garfield, New Jersey.
All right. I think we're going to call you Larry 2.
Oh, you have?
Because
Okay.
Larry 3 is on his way in. And Jibril, you want to introduce yourself?
Yes. Hi, I'm Jibril Omar Odom. I'm calling in from Howell, New Jersey.
All right.
Hey, Jibril.
How are you?
Hey. And Show, are you there yet? I can't see you.
I'm here.
Ah, there's my nephew. Give us your name and tell us where you're calling from.
My name is Lawrence Odom III, and I am calling from Trenton, New Jersey.
Wow, we got a lot of Jersey in the house.
Yeah. And Nicole is here. Nicole, are you ready to introduce yourself? All right, I guess. Oh, there she is.
There she is.
Yeah.
Okay, for some odd reason,
you're a little bit distant though.
am I?
Yeah, can you do anything about the volume?
Something's going on with my volume. Let me grab the headphones, okay? I'll be right back.
Okay.
Here's my book.
Oh, there's the book. Now that's the 1981 version.
Yes.
That Kim has. Yeah. The foundation. It's considered one of the foundational books of women's studies. Written by women of color, Native American, Hispanic. What else? Who else do we have in there? Black women, all kinds of different women.
Asian women as well, lots of Asian.
Asian women, yeah. So on my top, I don't know if you see it, but Larry's name is showing up as Larry, so I guess we can just call him Larry. And Larry the Third's name is showing up as Showtime, so I guess Show. So I guess we can call him a Show. I know who you all are, but the regular members of the group don't know. And all of these men are part of my family. You know, I told you I've got testosterone. I've been boiled in testosterone.
That's
And
okay.
Larry, my brother Larry, is just about my age. I'm the elder. I'm 14 months older than him. So, so we really grew up neck and neck, fighting every day of our lives. And the two young men are both of his sons. So they're my nephews. And we may get a visit from Christopher Odom, who is our cousin. And Chris left sent me a message on Facebook saying that he has read This Bridge Called My Back as a part of a college course he took. And and if he has the chance, he'll sit in with us. So he may come tonight. The other guys, Jibril, Showtime, and Larry, I'm assuming you have not read the book. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah.
That's correct.
Okay. So that is normally, one of the criteria for being a part of the book group. But given the fact that so much is going on in the world, and a lot of the questions that I have are related to what's going on in the world. And the book, which was first written in 1981, is actually bringing up issues that are still present, very much present in our current day. I thought that you would certainly be able to contribute to this conversation. And I'm hoping that for all of us, tonight is a way for us to kind of let go of some of our stress about what's going on, because I know we're all stressed out. Nicole, are you ready to introduce yourself?
Yes. Hi, everyone. My name is Nicole Wilson, and I'm joining from Houston.
Hey,
Welcome,
Nicole.
welcome.
Yay.
Houston, Texas. I was glad to hear your, the police chief down there that told Donald Trump to shut his mouth.
Oh, yeah.
What? I missed it.
Acevedo.
Now, that's all right. All right. Nephew Showtime, did you pull together a poem for me?
I did not this time. I will try to work on it.
Okay. Okay. My nephew Larry is a phenomenal poet, as is his dad. But I asked Larry, and it was a last minute request, if he had something he wanted to share. So maybe you'll come back one day and just do that.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to read through the summary. Did you guys find the agenda that is in that private group?
I actually did not.
Okay.
I really just popped on just now. I didn't really get a chance to scroll through the page or anything.
Okay. So that same private group, if you type session into your Facebook search bar, it should bring you to session 13. And somewhere on that page is the agenda for tonight. You don't need it, but that's where it is.
I'm going to put it in the chat as well.
Okay. Leonie's going to put it in the chat. So I'll go ahead and basically, guys, what we do is we read a question related to tonight's reading material, which were pages 36 to 72 in this bridge. And then, whoever wants to kind of try to respond to the question can do that. We try to limit ourselves to 3 minutes or 5 minutes, or, just being mindful that other folks have stuff to say too. So I'll go ahead and read the summary of tonight's agenda. The death of Anna Mae Aquash, Native American freedom fighter, mysteriously murdered by a bullet in the head. Raymond Yellow Thunder, forced to dance naked in front of a white VFW club in Nebraska, murdered. Rita Silk Nawney, imprisoned for life for defending her child. My dear friend Monty Lucas Papago, shot in the back of the head outside of a gay bar in Phoenix. And that's a passage from the reading by Barbara Cameron called Gee, You Don't Seem Like an Indian from the Reservation. In our continuation of part 2, Entering the Lives of Others, Theory in the Flesh, we lean in to the lived experiences of Indigenous, Canadian, Native American, and Puerto Rican women, noting the similarities with people of African descent caught between alienation and assimilation. Today, America is on fire, in part sparked by the brutal murders of Ahmaud Arbery, George Floyd, and Breonna Taylor. Yet there's nothing new or unusual about these deaths, and that is the problem. When the looting starts, the shooting starts, said Donald Trump, revealing his insanity and insensitivity, yes, with this phrase traced back to 1967, but also showing his awareness of the American pattern of brutality, obliviousness, frustration, rage, explosion, and more brutality. What does it mean when the country's leaders know there is a problem and fail to take corrective action? No end in sight. Part 3, and when you leave, take your pictures with you, racism in the women's movement, takes us more specifically into experiences women of color, Native American and Asian Pacific American, have had among white women feminists. Their hurt, disappointment, and disillusionment with the failure of white women to see and hear the specific concerns of women of color expose a deep division in the movement that led to a parting of ways, and to date, nearly 40 years later, is unresolved. Just this week, we witnessed Amy Cooper call the police on Black bird watcher Christian Cooper in New York City's Central Park because she was afraid of a man watching birds while Black. The privilege she evoked by this act, and the simultaneous ignorance, are the exact concerns women of color were speaking to 40 years ago through this week's readings. Much work remains. Welcome to the new generation. So as usual, usually guys, we can only get through about 4, 5, or 6 questions, but I'm a tad on the insane side, so I always have way more questions than we can actually do. And I just put down, whatever kind of comes to me as I'm going along. And I actually restrained myself. There was more stuff I could have written, but I decided to stop. So what I did instead was I highlighted 4 or 5 questions, and those are the ones that I want us to start the conversation with. And then if we, have more time or want to stay a little bit longer, we can go back and pick up something else. So do I have a volunteer to read question 1?
I'd be happy to read it.
You.
Hey, with global pandemics of coronavirus and racism in full effect, of course, I want today's gathering to offer us an opportunity to express our deep rage, grief, and other emotions related to current events. Reflecting on the range of emotions and experiences of Anita Valero, or Max Wolf Valero, Barbara Cameron, Aurora Levins Morales, and the poet Christos, and in consideration of current events like the outsized number of coronavirus deaths in the US, the steep unemployment rate, the murders of Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, and George Floyd and others, the fear of Amy Cooper unleashed on Kristen Cooper, the inflammatory speech of sociopathic narcissist Donald Trump, and American cities on fire. How are you feeling? What progress do you see in the years since This Bridge Called My Back was first published in 1981? And what do you see as the way forward?
Thank you. Anybody?
Oh, okay, I'll go first. So, you know, as you noted, Michelle, I am obviously, you know, deeply disturbed thinking about also, you know, James Baldwin's The Fire Next Time, as I've watched all of these relics and symbols of white supremacy, you know, burn really. And so, and then I guess it's a kind of different pain for me, knowing that, you know, to just watch a lynching. I don't know a better, not a better grammar, but lynching. He was just lynched. Um, and so, what progress have we made when I'm reading this text? And the text memorializes some of the very issues that we continue to struggle with.
Hold on, Nicole. I'm getting some feedback somewhere. Is that you, Larry?
Oh,
No.
Okay. Just maybe we should mute our mics so we can hear Nicole a little bit better, because it's still a little bit hard to hear you, Nicole.
oh, okay. Can you hear me a little better now? Okay. So yeah, I'm just saying that some of the very issues that we're struggling with here, 2020, were memorialized in this text, and you know, and so what's different? Not much. I wish I could be more optimistic, but I can't. Did any of you all watch the video? Because I tried not to watch it, and I think I clicked on something, and I ended up seeing the lynching of George Floyd, and so yeah, so I'm just, yeah, I'm not optimistic at all today about this.
Yeah, I watched it. I did not watch it over and over and over again. I didn't even watch the full 8 minutes and 46 seconds. But yeah, I have avoided the replays. Yeah. Thank you. Anybody else?
Now, how about can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me, Michelle? Now,
I hear you.
how about, have you heard recently that the state AG there in Minnesota said that the other 3 will be charged? Has anyone heard that?
I did not hear that. Did you hear that today?
I did hear that today.
I heard that today too.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good.
So I mean that ought to. I know it's hard to maintain being optimistic, but this is going to be a slow process. But it's always a slow process.
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, I think it's good to hear that. You know, but I'm not really grooving with this 3rd-degree murder charge for the first guy, Chauvin. What did they charge the other ones with?
Well, they haven't charged them yet, but the attorney for the late George Floyd said that he expects them to be charged before he's laid to rest next week.
Yeah.
They didn't
Crump.
say Benjamin Crump. They didn't say what charges that they were coming forth with, but and you got to remember the 3rd-degree charge, they could be upgraded. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Crump is trying to get it upgraded to 1st-degree.
Mm-hmm.
You know, which is harder to prove. But if you can't prove it with a 9-minute video, then nobody ought to get convicted of murder, ever. You know. So, you know, so yeah, so that's good news. Okay, anybody else want to respond to this question? How you feeling? What progress do you see? What do you think is the way forward?
Can respond.
I
Oh
just
no,
wanted to
go ahead, Kim.
thing. You know, given the fact that we're going through this pandemic and people are dying, it just is surprising to me that racism trumps the virus. That police officers and the 1% would overlook anything in terms of people dying to be racist and to look at how to profit from the racist system that we're in. So I find that so disheartening. You would think that racism would take a day off, but it has amped itself up.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's amped up, and it's got Trump, you know, whipping it up.
Yeah. The thing that I would say is that the thing that's better is that people are coming together. Like there's, I think that things will get worse before they get better. I think things will definitely get worse. And I don't, if Donald Trump gets reelected, I think the US has changed forever. Like I don't think it can recover. So the thing that's different is that there are actual conversations and talking about like abolition is something that people who would never have considered are actually starting to talk about now. People are actually starting to look at addressing, making permanent changes, like not just smoothing over things, but actually looking at wanting to change the system. The system is being revealed, what I think is the biggest difference. That for more and more people, the systems are being revealed that they have been blinded to. Mm-hmm. Like if something like Amy Cooper, if something like that would not have been nowhere near there would not have been outrage, nowhere near as much outrage, even say 5 years ago. Mm-hmm. And you had many white people who clearly saw what she was doing, saw the impact of what she was doing. Even if she doesn't see it, they saw it. Mm-hmm. So that's what's different. The system is being revealed, but I think that permanent change will only really come as a result of more pain that will come, because I think that Donald Trump, he has to fight now to the end. He has no choice now. He can't back down on it. And if he does back down, other racist white people will just step in and do something. about it. Like he's obviously talking about starting. I mean, as a kid, I've been hearing about the race war, and it's clear to me that that's what he's aiming for. There's no other explanation for what it is that he's doing.
Yeah.
I mean, talking about bringing out dogs and weapons on Black people, like there's literally pictures of that. So that's kind of what's different. But
bringing the National Guard into Washington, D.C.
Yeah. I mean, as you guys know, I provide a lot of support for people around this kind of stuff. Every American that I've been speaking to for the last 2 days have had helicopters flying over their house. Every single person. People in Oakland, people in Seattle, people in Minnesota that I have been speaking to, they all have been hearing.
People in New York.
People in Washington, D.C. I know somebody was saying that their sister lives on the 13th floor of a building and they can smell the pepper spray from all the way up on the 13th floor. So,
yeah, because people wanted to protest an unjust killing.
I had a nice conversation with cousin Jared earlier this morning about everything that's going on, and I feel like my personal opinion is there's no real solution. I feel like there's no real solution, and me personally, I kind of stand, I guess, in the middle as far as understanding, being a young Black male and having, faced this oppression and, police brutality to a certain extent, especially coming from the city where I'm coming from. I've experienced it as well as my friends. So I can understand, the anger. And I could also understand them wanting to tear stuff up because initially there was a peaceful protest in the city of Trenton. And I didn't go out, but I had some friends that were down there doing a live broadcast, and everything was fine. And then as we started to get into the night, things just it took a turn to the left. You know what I mean? And they just followed suit to what was going on in the other cities across the country or whatever. And them tearing stuff up, one part of me feels like, all right, I understand. And then the other part of me is like, is that the real solution? Are tearing stuff up, are you really going to get the attention that you were looking for? Or, whatever the goal is, are we going to gain it that way? Because it's a lot of people that don't have anything to do with, that's going to be affected as a result of the way that things are being torn up. People are losing their jobs. For Trenton is a small town, right? So you figure the few Black-owned businesses that we do have, you busting windows and setting stuff on fire. So somebody got to feed their family. You know what I mean?
Larry, do you have a perspective on who is doing that kind of thing? We keep hearing that it's outside agitators.
I was told that. I was told, initially that there was some white males that had started busting windows first. And, not for nothing, you get what I mean. I don't have a problem with whatever you are, white, green, yellow, or things like that. But as far as living and coming, directly from out of the city and caring for the city, they weren't from here. But my problem is, all right, so if y'all saw that happening, why would you just follow suit and join in and start doing the same thing? And then to me, it kind of goes back to people having, their own personal anger issues, their own reasons that any reason that I can turn up, I'm going to turn up and I'm going to tear somebody else shit up. And, like I said, I understand, but I don't 100% agree with it. So like I was saying, I was talking, and I'll finish after this. We were speaking in reference to Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. So when I talked to Dirty Jared earlier, he was frustrated. I haven't been frustrated with everything that's going on. I thank God for the peace that I have, to be honest. Like it just hasn't touched me in a way that it's touched a lot of people. You know what I mean? But I told him, you know, the same thing I'm telling you now. All right, so you saying you want to take the Malcolm X approach. I'm saying let's keep things peaceful. They killed both of them. The person that was being peaceful and the person that wanted to use the muscle. So, you know, if we were just following the blueprint, it hasn't worked. So then that goes back to what I said initially. What's the solution? There is no solution. And then that goes to dealing with individuals. And it's you know, racism it's the hate that people have. You get it would never change. It sucks. You know, it sucks that, you know, the Black community has to, you know, as well as, you know, our other brown brothers and sisters, so on. It's something that we have to deal with, you know what I mean? But I don't think that it's something that we'll ever be able to resolve, personally.
Well, I'm going to have to struggle with you over the years over that opinion. And just quickly, I'll say, if you're feeling like there's no solution, it's time to open another window.
I agree.
It's time to get creative. Yeah.
I agree.
Jibril, how you feeling, baby?
I have mixed emotions about this because, like, obviously this is terrible. I haven't been sleeping, honestly. Like, for some reason, I know this has been happening over the past, like, hundreds of years, but this specific instance with George Floyd really got to me. And I don't know if it's because, like, I'm way much older right now and, like, I can see the world and, you know, from my own perspective, but I don't know. Like, I kind of agree with Lojo, how he said, you know, how I don't think racism is ever going to end. I think there's always going to be steps moving forward, just like, you know, protesting and people, you know, making lifestyle changes in terms of their thoughts, their beliefs, who they hang out with. But in terms of it actually being abolished, unfortunately, I personally don't think it'll happen soon, but I'm all for, you know, moving towards the right steps. And the question is, like, what are those right steps? That's the thing. Everyone has their own different beliefs. So it's just a huge question right now of, like, what can we all do to all move forward as a country, as people together. So I've been thinking a lot about it, but I'm glad that, you know, these conversations are happening and you gave us the opportunity tonight to talk about it.
Yeah, it's a huge clusterfuck for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anybody else?
I feel like it's also a failure of imagination, because capitalism has always been the limit for us as Americans. And so it's not, we don't know how to push. I'm not just going to say Americans, but because I need to center other nations as well, but we're not pushing beyond that limit. And whether we are looking at additional systems, whether we're talking about, you know, I've heard, you know, it ratcheted down and up, you know, from community policing to abolishing, defunding the police. But I do think we're struggling with with the radical imagination. I think it takes radical imagination for us to think through and to process what could be different. For me, it's a damn shame that I watch corporate media hijack this narrative and begin talking about looting, and you're talking about vandalism and petty theft. And a man was lynched, and a woman was killed, lying in her bed asleep. And a man was running, and he's killed. And a boy was killed. And I mean, and I could go on and on and on. And here we are centering corporations and businesses.
Yes.
Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
So I'm so enraged because I watch these people, again, a failure of imagination. They're out cleaning up, the so-called the mess that the vandals made, but yet homeless people can live in squalor and filth. Children who are in communities where you can tell people don't give a damn. Some of the schools I've taught in and I've had to go in, people don't give a damn about the conditions that those children are facing day in and day out. And yet we're taking our power, our labor, and and then folks are going to clean up. I mean, Gucci stores get broken into, and you're cleaning up. Are you serious? Is this the best we can do? Where is the idea that human life, that there's sanctity, the sanctity of human life? Again, I'm just saying it's a complete failure of imagination. The ways in which we desire for businesses to thrive, and we don't even extend that same consideration to people. I'm talking about children who have you seen some of the neighborhood schools? Some schools where they don't even have toilet paper. Like, what the heck? This is, and again, the media. Malcolm X told us that if we are listening to the media, and I would insert corporate media, that you will begin to believe that the villains are the heroes and the heroes are villains. That those who are so-called, that the guilty ones, are not guilty, and so on and so forth. It's just this way in which they are so tied, they cannot really be extracted from capitalism. And I think that's a failure.
Yeah. Well said, Nicole. It is a crisis of imagination. And that's why I don't go into despair and hopelessness, is because people are doing it. Every other first world country is way more civil than the United States of America, by far. That's not an opinion. Look at every statistic. The United States is a first world country with third world stats. And that is by choice. And it can be different. So there's lots of ways to do capitalism that isn't the way that it's done in the United States. There's lots of ways to show care for people. It's not a mystery at all. Yeah. It's just that it's just been disrupted by this idea of American exceptionalism. And it's like, Americans don't know what good government looks like. And it's been designed that way. It's not like it's from choice. It's been designed that way. There's no reason why people in the United States would know what good government is like. So, but good government exists.
Yeah.
So it is doable. Yeah. It is doable. And I say that as a person who doesn't live in the United States, I'm from somewhere else, still deal with anti-Blackness. I still live in a white supremacist culture. And I can tell you, it is different when you even how we view capitalism is different. Mm-hmm. And it changes everything. So it's doable.
Where there's some hope. There is some hope. Thank you.
Give us some hope, Gio.
Ooh, wow. I don't know if I can beat what Leonie said. The hope, somewhere somebody knows how to do it right. Now, how to transplant that program here requires what? Tearing down the strongholds that already exist. But I think I'm coming back to that picture you posted, Michelle, of all those white women linking arms in front of those Black protesters. That's what it takes. The thing I was most heartened about was the diversity in the crowd. Now, there are reasons for being there, many, right? Because everybody's been put under pressure and they want to, release it. But listening to, the tweets and the posts, and then listening to people who are my son's age of the different races, they get it. They do get it. They understand, but feel kind of powerless to change the system because when you think you're doing well, right? You're following the rules, you're making some progress. They switch the game on you, right? So what do you do when you're attacked by a biological weapon and then they use it to cover for stealing the wealth of the masses and blame it on you or some other country? Okay, but what are you doing to protect us? It always comes back to, well, people elected you. What are you doing to protect us? And the conversations I'm hearing from my white neighbors, from people in line at stores, at the armory store, uh, are that now they feel like, well, what in the hell is this crazy ass dude talking about? He's bringing the army in on us. Okay, look, if the biological weapon and his unconcerned, his inhuman, totally obliviousness to what might happen didn't wake you up, then maybe this drone, killer reaper drones flying over your house and your shed out there in the bayou, that's going to wake your ass up, okay? Because he cares not for you. We've told you this before. He's told you before. But until you see the boots marching up your driveway in your nice cul-de-sac, you won't believe it. Well, believe it, okay? And so, if enough people can open up their eyes and instead of buying the bullshit about, oh, anti-fire, what the fuck? Okay, how about people just tired of bullshit? Okay, all right. Would you rather them tear your head up or that glass, that plexiglass over there? Go ahead, baby, burn it up. Don't burn me. Burn that shit. Okay, not me. Okay, I hear you. I feel you. Okay, now burn it up and let's march on. Let's keep it moving. Keep it moving, and then have a plan for when, past the destruction, past that release, that emotional release. Well, what are we going to do after? What are the next?
We lost sound, Gio.
He's muted.
You're muted, it looks
You got too excited and muted yourself.
Yeah, didn't I? Let me not touch that mouse. Okay. No, I think I was saying, we have to be a community, and a community is not just, your separate little clique over here who is, the far left, whatever that is, and the far right, whatever that is. It's human beings on the planet until you realize, look, it does not matter what you really, your little idiosyncrasies, because that's all that shit is, right? Okay, we're breathing the same air, the same dirty ass water, the same fucked up food, okay, that you let people outsource to some other country. All right, I'm tired of eating shrimp from goddamn Thailand. They're feeding it shit, human shit. Okay, this is not food for people to grow great minds from and healthy bodies. Bring you tired of all your businesses and your jobs going overseas? Make them motherfuckers bring that shit back here so you can work, okay? Build your schools up. Keep the money in your community. Nothing happens unless you make these people do it. You gotta make them do it. And if you gotta scare the shit out of them, okay, make them go into the bunker under the White House. Fucking do it, okay? Because we done try to talk to you nice, but sometimes you just gotta get with a nigga, right? And a nigga can be anything. Okay. Okay. You got to get with him. Okay. Right. You don't like, okay, you ain't scared of Martin? Let me bring some Malcolm up in here, okay? Okay. All right. Let me bring some H. Rap Brown up in your ears. Okay. Okay. Yes. Yes. Okay. Yes. I mean, hey, we try to be nice, we try to be Christian about it, but now we're gonna have to do something else. And make you long for the gospel singing, oh, someday over that mountain, we's gonna make it together. Okay? So that's
yeah.
So I'm done.
we're under a lot of pressure as Americans. I mean, this coronavirus, you know, is taking us out quickly. The 40 million people out of work. You know, there's a lot. I was listening to Jelani Cobb today, speaking on Frontline, and one of the points he was making was that, you know, if so many people weren't unemployed right now, they might have missed the news about George Floyd and everything else going on in the world. And we wouldn't see the kinds of crowds that we're seeing. But Donald Trump he didn't have no PPE. He didn't have no time to respond to the coronavirus. He said it was a joke. So now we had 105,000 Americans dead and millions of people with nothing but time on their hands to look out at what's going on in this world. That's a dangerous, dangerous combination that we got going on here. But, you know, I wanted to say to you, Leonie, I don't know, but I have kind of just always felt like the very high level of diversity in the United States is what has made it so difficult for us to provide the public services that, you know, other Western capitalist countries managed to do. And, you know, when de Tocqueville came to America in the 1800s, he described it as an experiment, you know, this democracy thing as an experiment. And so, you know, I'm a student of political science. And so I've just kind of always looked at America as an experiment and wondered, when are we going to stop the experiment, assess the results, and make some decisions about what to do next? Because it looks like a failed experiment from this perspective. And so I don't know, like, you know, my daughter-in-law lives in Germany, and that has been a predominantly white country for so long, and they have a lot of the social programs that you're talking about, Leonie. But, you know, more and more as African immigrants start moving into Germany, more and more they start to have some of the kinds of issues that we've been dealing with, you know, all along in America. So I think that's a piece of it that we have to really find a way to assess, you know, how well this is working, and if it's not working, what else can and should we do? You know?
Okay.
I want us to pause here for a minute and just the women who have the books, and if you want to participate, Kim, it's okay. If you don't, it's okay. But I want to be sure that we get on tape our poetry reading on page 53. I Walk in the History of My People. This book is a book of essays and poems and articles and, you know, just various, it's got a lot of voices in here. And one of the poets that has kind of run through much of what we read thus far is a Native American woman named Christos. And a lot of the writers were based in the Bay Area, California. So Nicole, you want to start us out? And I guess everybody just take a couple of lines and, you know, we'll go around like we do.
Okay, can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I walk in the history of my people. There are women locked in
Wait,
my
wait a minute, Nicole. Let's, Kim, are you going to do it with us?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so let's go Nicole, Kim, Leonie, Gio, and me.
What page are we
Okay,
on?
go ahead, Nicole. Let's start.
53.
Page 53.
Got it.
Yeah, take it from the top, Nicole.
It shows I walk in the history of my people. There are women locked in my joints for refusing to speak to the police.
My red blood full of those arrested in flight shot.
Go ahead, Leonie.
Oh, sorry, that was you. My tendons stretched, brittle with anger, do not look like white roots of peace.
In my marrow are hungry faces who live on land the whites don't want. In my marrow, women who walk 5 miles every day for water.
In my marrow, the swollen faces of my people who are not allowed to hunt, to move, to be.
And the scars on my knee, you can see children torn from their families, bludgeoned into government schools.
You can see through the pins in my bones that we are prisoners of a long war.
My knee is so badly wounded, no one will look at it. The pus of the past oozes from every pore.
The infection has gone on for at least 300 years. My sacred beliefs have been made pencils, names of cities, gas stations.
My knee is wounded so badly that I limp constantly. Anger is my crutch.
I hold myself upright with it. My knee is wounded.
See how I am still walking?
Thank you. That's Christos. So let's see what another question is. Can somebody read question 9? Oh, I love this question. Gio, you want to read it? You're muted though.
Okay. All right. We have the reason racism is a feminist issue is easily explained by the inherent definition of feminism. Feminism is the political theory and practice to free all women, women of color, working class women, poor women, physically challenged women, lesbians, old women, as well as white, economically privileged, heterosexual women. That's a lot. Anything less than this is not feminism, but merely female self-aggrandizement. Barbara Smith. In 3, and when you leave, take your damn pictures with you. No, racism in the women's movement. That was a good one. Q, Bonnie Raitt. I can't make you love me. I believe everything is everything. And painful lessons we learn in one area of our lives, often our love lives, typically have wide applicability in other areas of our lives. If we make the connections, how does this song, I Can't Make You Love Me, speak to the pain and separations between women of color and white women expressed in part 3, and when you leave, take your pictures with you, racism in the women's movement. Again, using love, all types of love, as an analogy, what have you learned from the love in your life that you believe applies to the situation today's protesters speak to about the indiscriminate taking of Black life?
All right. Does everybody know the song? Now I can't sing. Oh, Kim is a singer. Kim, give us a few bars. I Can't Make You Love Me.
I don't know that song.
I can't make you love me if you don't. I can't make your heart feel something that it won't.
Okay.
Well, let that be an assignment for everybody tonight to download that song and listen to the words.
Yes, download that song and listen.
You sound so drunk. Oh, I love it.
That was not me singing. That was not me singing.
That wasn't you.
No, but I can't make you love me if you don't. I can't make your heart feel something that it won't. So here in the night, in these final hours, I will lay down my heart and I'll feel the power, but you won't. No, you won't. So we all have some love in our life. Our mamas loved us. Our papas loved us. I can't say what our siblings may have been feeling.
Come.
But we have some experience with love. I of course have to make the pit stop that I always have to make. But so why don't you guys get started on that question? What have you learned from love that has some applicability in current events? I'll be right back.
Can I just say one thing? It's 7:00 here in Brooklyn, and so everyone on this block, they're outside beating their pans and everything to acknowledge frontline workers. So I just want to take a second to acknowledge them too, even in this video. So now we can go back to our question. I just wanted to say that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Beautiful. Anybody want to go first?
Why don't you start us off, Nicole?
Okay. So what have I learned about love in my life, and how might it be applicable to what's happening today regarding protests, the killing of George Floyd, and so forth? I guess I think where I'm leaning toward, and I've shared this with you all probably a million times now, that that my pedagogy, my theology, it's liberation, right? And that's where I am today. It's about freedom. And so I'm just thinking through like love as a liberatory praxis, and how the things that I love, I want to be in full service of the liberation of those people, and so on and so forth. And so I just see this as, I can draw a through line from what I believe theoretically to the practice of protesting. I mean, when I listened to the CNN interviewed one of the young men, and he was just like, it's going to stop today. Like, we're not going to keep doing this, and I understood it to be the quotidian violence, the ritual assault, the ways in which, we always have these kind of grief cycles because we're watching these public lynchings, or we're hearing about Black people being lynched and so forth. So I think that lines up. There's a symmetry there with the way that I view and I think of love.
Thank you.
I think that it's a major thing that's motivating people. I happen to work almost in exclusive spaces with people who are interested in making the world work for more people. And one of the things that I'm hearing for people who are actually going to these protests is they have been surprised. These people who have been going to protests for decades about the number of young people who are at these protests, who are there in support. And then we're also seeing things like the image that was shared of the white people standing in front. And also last night in DC, there's a story going around a man, an Indian American man, who had 60 protesters sleep in his house last night because they had been cornered by police. And these are all examples of what beloved community is That's what beloved community is. It's about interdependence and not about individual reach. And so I don't think it's acknowledged enough about how love is a counter narrative to almost every other system that's out there. It's, like the kind of capitalism that we've been talking about. To respond to that kind of capitalism with the idea of love or liberation is a counter narrative. It's not expected. So it seems to be at the center of it and has a lot of different types of expression, and it only gets stronger the more people who find a way to express it.
Thank you. Larry, were you gonna say something?
No. I'm just thinking right now.
Mm-hmm. Okay. In terms of that song, I Can't Make You Love Me If You Don't. That is something that I have learned from my own love life. And it, and it's a painful lesson, of course, as most lessons are. But when you reach that point of acceptance that it is what it is and you can't change it, it frees your mind to start moving in another direction. No matter how hard you have tried to make something into what you wanted it to be. And so I kind of feel like that about Black people in America, that at some basic level, we have been begging for love, just wanting to be seen and treated as human beings, just wanting the basic dignity to which we feel entitled as human beings, and further entitled as American citizens. And having that basic plea rebuffed at every turn. And so I have mixed feelings about the protest. On the one hand, I've got that measure of pride in the young people that are absolutely risking everything to stand up and say, enough is enough. No justice, no peace. Hands up, don't shoot. They are warriors. They are phenomenal. On the other side, I am extremely worried about them because I know that we're dealing with the devil here. Literally. He got orange hair. If you didn't know what the devil looked like, now you know. We're talking about a man who is willing to pull a law out of 1807 to crush this shit. Now, where were Black folk in 1807? We're talking about a man that's been talking about taking his country back. We don't know to where, but we know that wherever he wants to go, we don't want to be there because it was not good for us, because we have not been loved in this country. So what do you do with that? You know, how many decades, how many centuries do you keep pleading for the same treatment that you're obviously capable? I mean, how many times do we see examples of the police who can act one way with white people and a whole nother way with us? So you got it in you. You know how to treat humans. You don't see us as humans. So yeah, I think that's where we are. What do you do when you accept the love that you want is not going to manifest?
I guess for me, I don't see it as love at all. And it feels like America keeps writing this check that keeps bouncing. And at some point, you're going to have to pay for this bounced check. And I do understand that the love part could be just this need to assimilate to the white standard. But for me, this country owes me and my people and my ancestors a great deal, and I want it. And so I don't need to be your friend. I don't need to be bug lovey, kissy, huggy, nothing. And I like the idea of, the song for me is God bless the child has got his own. So how do you find your own within a country that does not respect you and does not value you? And so that for me is what I struggle with, is how do you get power when people are up at night taking that same power away from you? Because we as people of color have unified so many times, and so many times we have been tripped up, challenged, laws have been passed to break whatever united fronts that we come up with. So my whole thing is that we just have to fight stronger, harder. And I love, Michelle, when you're always talking about your 500-year plan, because I think that's necessary. I think that I think that we need to stop playing checkers and play chess. That at some point, there are going to be more of us than there are of them. It's going to happen within 20 years or 30 years. So I think this is more a strategy thing for me than you not loving me, you not, letting me snuggle up to you at night. I don't need to snuggle with you.
I want to hear from my nephew, Showtime. He's a married man, been married. How long you been married now, Show? You're muted.
13 years now.
Wow. Drop that knowledge, baby.
Well, for me, I've learned a lot. If we're speaking in reference to this love thing, you know what I mean? It's really just sacrifice, you know what I mean? And patience. And I've had to sacrifice a lot, even, I feel like in regards to what we're talking about, it takes a lot of sacrifice, you know what I mean? And it's not is not necessarily fair. You get what I mean? But when you understand that, you know, that love is, you know, not going to be reciprocated, you have a choice to continue to show love. You know what I mean? Or you just going to be like, nah, I'm kicking the door down. You feel me? So for me, it all depends. You know what I mean? I try to, you know, spread love as much as possible. You know what I mean? Wherever I can, you know, within my household, outside of my household, you know, I've experienced, you know, not having that love reciprocated, you know, a lot of times in my life. You know what I mean? Even right now, I'm at a point to where I'm trying to start working as a respiratory therapist, and I've been at my job for 13 years, and I feel like the love is not being reciprocated. And what I mean is, you know, I've been there for so long. It's like, all right, cool. I've started from the bottom as far as different positions going up, right? And I come to these people, and I was expecting them to be, you know, arms open for one of their own. You know what I mean? And that's how we, in reference to what we're talking about, it's like, hey, we're American too, like arms open. What's going on? You know what I'm saying? But that love is not being reciprocated. So, you know, as far as the job goes, you know, I feel like I've been getting, you know, the beat around. We don't have a position available right now, but I just seen a new person. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I'm talking to a couple of my peoples, and they coming like, nah, keep your foot on their neck. You know what I'm saying? Like, you just got to keep on whooping this. And I'm like, on one side, I'm like, nah, I don't want to be anywhere where I'm not welcome. I'm not about to deal with that. I don't want to have to look over my shoulder. You know what I'm saying? But on the other side, I'm like, nah, fuck that. I'm kicking the door down. They going to accept me. And I think that's, you know, you just have to find that balance, you know, in the world in general. You know what I'm saying? And I think, you know, that's what we're trying to do right now, you know, as colored people. It's like, you know what? We've been waiting for so long. Like, we kicking the door down. You know what I'm saying? We kicking the door down, and y'all going to have to accept me. But, you know, it's a slow walk. You know what I mean? It's a very slow walk. So, you know, I try not to, I don't know, be consumed so much that it throws me off in my everyday life, because I still have a wife and 3 kids that I got to look after. I've dealt with anger issues before because of things going on in the world and outside of my place. It doesn't, me personally, it don't do me no good, which is why when I was talking earlier, I'm saying, like, I'm aware of everything that's going on. You know, it affects me to a certain extent, but I also try to allow it not to affect me to a certain extent. I don't want it to take over, because I know how it can get. You know what I'm saying? I was just talking to Jared earlier, and he was like, you know, just say that you was, you know, out there early at the protest, busting windows. Now, and for us it's different, you know. So I'm out there, I done bust a couple windows, I done got locked up. I already have a record. Guess what? Everything that I just went to school for and paid all that stuff for, no respiratory therapy for me. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Now, it may not be the same like that for somebody else. You know what I'm saying? You know, a white person or this, that, and the third. But I'm aware that it's like that for me. So I have to make, you know, my choices based on that. Is it fair? It's not. But me personally, I just learned how to maneuver. You know what I'm saying? You got to know how to maneuver out here. And I'm gonna get everything I got coming for me. You know what I'm saying? One way or another. That's how I look at it. It may take me longer, you know, whatever it's gonna be, whatever my slice of the pie is gonna be, I'm gonna get it. You know what I'm saying? It just kind of, like you said earlier, I get that it is what it is type of mindset sometimes. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I still try to focus on the love, though. I still try to spread love. You know what I'm saying? Because even if you know, in my experience, even if, you know, you showing love to somebody who's not showing you love back, eventually you get that love is going to overwhelm them, and you're going to start breaking them down. You're going to break them down. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, spread love.
Okay. I'm getting that unstable internet connection message again. Y'all can hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Yes. I hear you.
Okay. Thank you. Showtime.
You're very welcome.
Anybody else want to speak to the love question? All right. Well, I want us to show some love. I want us to at least spend a couple of minutes before we close on question 11. I'll read it. Mitsuya Yamada in Asian Pacific Women and Feminism teaches us that the 1942 evacuation order was first protested by a young Japanese woman. Reading this made me think of Darnella Frazier, the 17-year-old Black teen who filmed the May 25th murder of George Floyd, sparking the chaos, mayhem, riots, protests, rebellion, uprisings, battles, war, revolution, whatever you're calling it, of late May 2020. If you could speak directly to Darnella Frazier, what would you say?
I mean, I guess first, my first thing would be to say nothing because I would want to hug her. I think there is, and I say that, and I don't even say it cautiously, but I say it knowing and understanding, like Black women, the way we maneuver, we have to be very careful because the corporate media will always want to use us as a tool to, to mammy us, to be the mule and the mammy, the one who could withstand everything, as kind of Zora Neale Hurston warned us about Black women being the mules of the world. And then what I've seen them say about Atlanta's mayor, Keisha Lance Bottoms, like, oh, after that lecture, oh, she's the mother, she did that like a mother, and told them get home and get out of the store, stop looting. And so I offer, my offering to her would be the hug, not mammying, but it's sisterhood, because there are so many scholars who talk about Black girlhood being this site, but it's this kind of, it's a site, and it's problematized because it is it's there, but it's also kind of denied. So we're thinking about girlhood, this notion of you and the mistakes and so on and so forth that other children are allowed to make, and the ways in which they're allowed to come of age. That's not going to happen with Black youth. And so Black girlhood is always already in flux. And there's a way that Black girls are always read as growner than. They are hypersexualized earlier, and they are, or hypersexualized at all. I mean, there's all these things, these assaults that Black girls have to overcome. So the hug would be, first, it's sisterhood. It's to just say, I understand. And these are the legacies that so many Black women bequeath to us, and we're bequeathing to them, that they always have to bear witness. And bearing witness, it costs us something. sometimes it's a psychic trauma. Sometimes there's a physical trauma. There's that emotional trauma. But we always have to bear witness. I have twin daughters, as you all know. The girls are 13 now. And I've already taught my girls, like, a part of their literacy and their understanding how to read is you got to read a situation. So if I'm stopped, if your dad is stopped, if your brother stopped, start recording. Read that situation critically, quickly, and start recording. And luckily, they know that they have the social media where they can go live. And I've already told them, go live. So this is the space we have to hold, right? And the question is, when does it end? Where does it end? How does it end? I mean, I don't know.
I tell you, I'd like to say to that sister, thank you. I was when you think about what she did, because just a couple of weeks earlier, when Ahmaud Arbery was struck down so viciously by that father and son duo, and then you find out that the third person who was involved with it was the one that was actually recording it, never thinking that anyone would say anything, that he's recording this for sport to show what they did to this young black brother. Now this sister had the wherewithal and was brave enough to record it and put it out. And since then, I understand that she's been getting all sorts of death threats on her life. But she's a strong black woman, definitely a strong black woman. And I would just like to say thank you to her.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I guess I love the comments and to hug her, but I think that this is the time where you want to provide a space to hear where she is and listen. Her life has changed drastically because of this. So here's the opportunity to listen to what her fears and her experiences and her vision might be for moving forward, and what can I or we do as people who are a little older or a lot older, who may have little or more resources, that can then protect and support her, because I think that as a community, we do need to make sure that she has whatever she needs.
Well, and she has already publicly stated that she's traumatized, like she's having nightmares. She's already stated that. And so, there are folks who come forward who've been talking about counseling and so forth, and not just her, also protesters. Those folks who've been on the front lines who are going to need those resources. So they're creating, kind of these banks of who will do this kind of labor. Where are counselors, our psychologists, our psychotherapists, our psychiatrists, even those folks who will do this work and not necessarily, be paid at scale at what they're accustomed to be paid. But she has definitely told us she's having nightmares. She's traumatized.
In regards to her surroundings, I think by her, being brave enough to just record and not physically do anything was a smart idea. Like, she literally said on social media that she chose to not do, interfere with the encounter because she didn't want the situation to get worse, for the cops to retaliate and even potentially hurt more people. So I just think she's a brave soldier for even, doing what she did. And I just hope things, get for her from here on.
Yeah. Absolutely. Anybody else? I guess, like my brother Larry, more than anything, I want to say thank you. You know, I know what a great emotional cost this is going to be, because she's going to be living with those images forever. And you know, a lot of Black people, you know, really don't want to know much about Black history. We don't want to read the books because it's painful. You know, we don't want to watch the videos because it's painful. But, you know, from another perspective, we do need to protect ourselves from constantly and always looking directly at the ugliness going on here. But that you could hold that camera through that incident, you know, I think is a profound act of courage. And so, and it tells me something about what you're made of. And seeing what you're made of tells me that you're going to be all right. You're going to be all right. You know, it's going to take some time. But my hope is that you will always look truth in the face, except for when you need to rest, except for when you need to pause. Because it is by facing the truth we gain the power to change our world. Look at what you did by facing the truth. Look at what you accomplished. You're a superstar. And I love you.
I think that, you know, from my perspective is I just definitely thank her for it. And it kind of makes me think, not sure, you know, what type of area she's from, but, you know, has she, you know, when you from certain areas, you know, that violence and seeing people hurt or murdered is not, you know, it's not new. You know what I mean? So in my mind, you know, I think like, you know, she's probably never seen anything like that before, but has she ever seen anything, you know, similar to that? You know what I'm saying? And even with that, you know, it still, it can be, you know, very traumatic. So, you know, my hopes, you know, would just for the right people to be around her, you know what I mean, that would assure her of that protection and every aspect, you know what I mean? And just, you know, knowing that you have somebody to have your back, you know, so that, you know, if it was that traumatic to her, because in those type of situations, you know, you can really become, you know, numb to that stuff. You know what I mean? You could become, I remember, you know, God rest his soul, talking to my uncle Dougie, when I was younger, about, you know, one of my friends that had been murdered. And I remember after talking to him, he looked at me and was just like, "Dag, y'all joke, like you so cold," you know. And I had just been used to it, you know what I mean? So it hadn't really affected me in that way, you know what I mean? It was going down. So when I think about it, I'm like, you know, for her, it could be two ways, you know. It could be something that she's used to, or it could be something that, you know, it can really, you know, be traumatic to her. But she just needs the right support, you know what I mean, and people around her, and the space the space to heal, though. You know, because a lot of times you see something like that, you know, who was expecting it to get this big? You know what I mean? So it's really, you know, spilled over. And I would just, you know, I think it's action. You know what I mean? And people just in her corner loving her up right now. You know what I mean? Loving her up hard and knowing that she had support. You know what I mean? And she's not by herself. She did nothing wrong. Because I seen a quote that I seen a quote that said that Will Smith had recently put up, and it was that racism hasn't necessarily just start to grow more. It's just we have the technology now. You know what I mean? So these things have been happening, you know, crazy things. We can see it now. You know what I mean? So you have, in those situations, you have that choice to be like, I'm gonna pull this camera out and I'm gonna record it, you know, regardless, or you know, I'm gonna ignore it. You know what I mean? So she's definitely a brave soul, and she has my support.
I hope that this nation embraces her with their arms as they did Rosa Parks in that split second when she decided not to get up. She sparked the movement. And this is what this sister has done. And I hope we all show her that love.
Michelle, I really loved what you said. And I'm wondering if there's some way that we can have like an open letter to her on from this group.
Sure.
I don't know if just go or if there's someplace else to send it, but we could definitely start with our Facebook page.
Yeah. And yeah, we can work on that. I actually have been into making video clips of this session. I don't have them all posted yet, but I've kind of been doing a video segment of each question. So I'm definitely going to do that around this question. And, you know, it could be transcribed and, you know, or we could just write a letter. But yeah. Larry, that numbness issue you brought up is a key issue. Gio, do you have some love for Darnella you want to leave us with? You're muted.
Well, I think, I don't know if I could say it any better than you guys have already said it. We've seen so many of our witnesses to crimes against us persecuted after the fact, their characters destroyed, and then some of them destroyed, right? So I think just wow, just how impressed I am of our young people, right? We've talked a lot about them, what they aren't, what we think they should be, but hey, look at what they deal with every day, wherever they are, right? And I wish things would be better. I wish that she would be hailed as a hero, a heroine, because that's what she is. She stood up like the best of us throughout history who have sacrificed, who've taken that stand, that split second, like what was mentioned before, that I'm going to do this because this is the right thing. Scared as I am, I'm going to do this right now, whatever comes, because it's the right thing. Because it could be me there, it could be somebody I love there in that position. And this is the best I can do to help. And so I hope that the people around her protect her physically as well as emotionally and financially, because we know how this digital age, they'll bring that stuff up later, right? And try to destroy her. And we can't let that happen. We can't let her fall through the cracks like many of those who have stood up have. And so all the love we can show her in any way possible, and follow up on it. Because what happened to the young woman who testified at Trayvon Martin's trial? Whatever happened to her? Do we know?
Well, I need to find out if she graduated, but I know Tom Joyner and some initiatives that he was working with and through. He, he paid for her to go to college and have tutors and so forth to get her prepared. So I actually need to get an update. Rachel. Need to have
Okay.
an update on her. Yeah.
That's beautiful. And I hope someone with the means, or many people with the means, make sure she's protected and taken care of. Because this is a turning point in the history of the nation. Some people may say it's come back around in another circle, but we can't let it go on. It's got to go in a different direction after this. And so, with love, but with determination, we move forward and encourage each other to continue to do the right thing, do the hard thing, but do it. But do it. So that's all I have.
Thank you.
Maybe
So,
we
all
could
right.
maybe we could also have some homework in terms of between now and we meet next week to see what is being done and for her to date. Because if we're reading a book called This Bridge Called My Back, we're all walking on her back. So it would just be nice that whatever little thing that comes out of this group, it comes out of it, even if it's just awareness that, we adopt her as the person that, we check in on when we open before, just to say, this is what we heard about this sister. So that we all keep her fresh in our minds.
Yeah. You want to see what you can find out for us?
Yes.
Yeah. Great. And I think Gio, you're facilitating next week, right?
Yep, I'm up at bat.
Yes, but we should all do it. I'll definitely do it, but we should all do it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I'll join you. Yeah. Definitely.
Well, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to work on getting the video together.
Okay.
So that we can craft whatever letter we want to do from that. So to the Odom men, normally, like I said in the beginning, the criteria is that you read along to be a part of the discussions. And the reason that has been a criteria for me, I started this book group back in 2014. And I've been a part of a lot of conversations. I mean, my brother Larry and I knows that we just grew up around conversation, political conversation, because my dad was so active in the civil rights movement. And he was also an AME minister. And so he'd have rap sessions with young people, and virtually every Sunday night, there were his political friends sitting around the dinner table, plotting and planning what to do next. But I've also been a part of a lot of conversations where, people are just shooting the shit, shooting the breeze, and letting off steam, and not necessarily learning anything or growing or accomplishing anything as a result of the conversation. And so I knew I didn't want to facilitate those kinds of conversations. And so having a book, you know, it gives us a common body of knowledge, and kind of puts us on an equal playing field of being able to contribute to a conversation. So, you know, if you guys want to get the book, that's wonderful. If you want to come back, that's wonderful. If you don't want to come back, you know, I'm going to talk to you all anyway about doing a family thing. But I love having you here. And I absolutely think you bring, you know, different and much needed perspective to the conversation. And so I'm going to make a one-time exception. I hope my book group members won't mind. And, you know, and say that if you want to come back, whenever you want to come back, you're now in that private group where the link gets posted at 5:45. Anytime you want to pop back in and kick it with us,
Bust it up.
We'd love to have you. Bust it up. And you got to come back and bring some poetry showtime.
Yeah, I definitely.
You know.
I'll work on it.
And if your father got some poetry he wants to share, especially political poetry, he's a great love poet. He's a lover, not a fighter.
Well, there was a question about love tonight.
Oh, yes, there was. Yes, there was. You got some poetry you want to drop on us?
I'm going to save it for next time because I'm coming back.
All right. We're here on Tuesday, 6 p.m.
I'll be back as well.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful and safe week. Wear your mask.
Yeah.
You know, try not to get shot.
Right.
And try not to kill anybody. Georgette.
No promises. No.
Stay safe and stay awake.
Yes.
Yes.
Nice
Now is not no time to be napping.
Yes.
Indeed.
Nice meeting everybody. Everybody.
You too. You too.
Goodbye, everybody.
Have a good week.
Good
All
night.
right. Good